to speak about an incident that happened. I swear, every time incidents happen, I can never catch them on video. I can never catch them with my phone. My phone was dead. And I know the visuals don't go with the first story, but it kind of goes with the second story. But the first story basically happened here where I live. Where I live is predominantly black, and I've been here for almost 4 years, and it's been a pleasant experience. I did like the previous owners. They were black owned. Well, I wouldn't say black owned, but the people who worked in my area, basically they were black, and I preferred that. And I never had any problems, never had any issues, never had beef with my neighbors, any of that. But since management has changed, certain people have started coming up here. Really, the cops have never been up here except for the one or two that lived here and then moved. And the only incidents are incidents surrounding the area where a person may have came into the area here where I live and something happened, but there's never been any trouble. Nobody's tried to break in, no crime, no nothing like that. So today I saw some people, they were down the ways from me, and I heard a woman yelling. So I decided to look outside, and I saw these were all black people, a man holding down a woman. Now, he basically said that he's her brother, and he was holding her down on the concrete ground. It had just rained today, so I know that pissed her off even more, and she was screaming and she was angry. And I don't know how it all started, but I do know, he had her pinned to the ground. He wasn't hitting her or anything, but she wanted him to get off of her, and she kept screaming. And I did notice there was a woman holding a baby. And I guess, I don't know if it was her. I do believe it was her. She called the police before the incident went down outside. So I kept watching. I was watching the police officer. It was a good thing the first police officer that came was black. So he was able to diffuse the situation, listen to everybody, split everyone up, and get the story before the white officer came, which he didn't really say anything to anybody. He wasn't trying to diffuse the situation. He was just waiting for something to get popped off. I could tell. He didn't really say anything. And the black guy, he actually handled the whole situation. And there was no arrests, no problems, no trouble. He actually diffused it, which this is why we need our own people policing our own neighborhoods, because a situation that could have gotten out of hand didn't, because you had someone who knew what they were doing and did their job correctly. But I was just watching it, and basically I listened to her tell the story. But before she told the story, I'm gathering that they were all family. So the mother was watching the grandchild, her child, and then there was her brother, and there was another guy who came there. It may have been her brother, but I don't know. Nothing was said. So he was ready to he pulled up real quick, and he was ready to hop out of the car, and he said he was going to beat her ass. He actually, if his other brother had not grabbed him, he would have actually put his hands on her, which is really telling to me, how people try and say a lot of this anger towards black women and abuse towards black women, it's not really a big deal, and almost like black women are supposed to just shut up and take it. A full grown man said he was going to catch her, and he threatened her right in front of the police officers. He threatened to beat her ass, and he said that, she has to go somewhere. I didn't catch where. And he would basically, he's going to beat her like she's a man. But everyone wants to talk about black people love each other and the black love and all of that. But on with the story. She basically said that the only person who was in the right, it seems to me, was this lady who was being pinned down on the ground, because again, she's the one who lives over here in this area over right next to me. I've never had a problem. I've never seen anything like this with her. I've never seen a fight or anything like that. So everything's been fine with her. And she decided to agree to let one of the family members come and stay with her because he was on parole. And imagine that's the reason why we had this situation go down, because she's trying to be, the mother couldn't help him, the grandmother couldn't help, the two men didn't allow him to stay with them, but she opened up her home with her children to this person so they can get on their feet, right? So she said that her TVs in her home was busted and broken, and this person put their hands on her. So he physically attacked her and hit her. And she wanted to know, because she said that she wanted him out of her home, and she wanted to know the proper procedure to get him out, because basically he is scheduled to live here at the home with her. So that's what the parole officer knows, and that's what's been I guess assigned for him to be staying here. But since he did what he did, because the person who actually, she said that busted her TV and put his hands on her, he ran off. He wasn't there when the fight got started. He wasn't there when all the other family members came. So he had did all this, destroyed her stuff, and then left. And what it seems like to me is this woman opened up her home so someone who was getting out of jail could get on their feet. And this is the thanks that he gave her because of whatever argument there was going on. So he decided to break her property, put his hands on her, and then the family was mad at her because she knew he was on parole, and they didn't want her calling the police, and they didn't want her, I guess, doing what she needed to do to protect her. And plus she had children as well in the home. And she basically asked the older lady if I believe it was her mother, or I can't be 100% sure, but she asked her not to bring her child there because of the situation that was going on, and it was dangerous. But she ended up bringing the child anyway. So, basically the guy who drove up real quick and said he was going to fight her and beat her, he said he did that because the older lady said that she was going to run her over, which, first of all, you're holding a baby. So if she's going to run you over with her baby, and said that she tried to hit her, which I didn't hear any cars or anything like that. So I didn't hear, before I heard this young lady yelling, I didn't hear any cars or somebody turning in or somebody trying to leave, because I'm right here and I would have been able to hear it. I didn't even know what was going on until I came up front and heard her yelling and her talking. So that's not believable. And then the older lady, she basically called the other guy who said he was going to beat the lady who stays up here. He was going to beat her. And I'm like, why would you call someone else in on this situation and escalate this situation when the police are on their way? And it seems like they were more concerned about the family member that's on parole and making sure he didn't get in jail for something that he did. He had a temper tantrum, broke this woman's stuff in her home, put his hands on her, and then what she's supposed to say, oh, oh well, I'm just gonna overlook it. I'm gonna replace it myself, and then just continue to let you stay in my home after you've done what you've done. That's what was crazy, because that's what it seems like. It's like everyone who was involved, from the older lady who was holding the child to her brother to the man who drove up, they were willing to sacrifice her or act like she was doing something wrong to protect someone who had just got out of jail. And the thanks that he had for her to give him a place to stay, when obviously the three of them didn't want to give him a place to stay since they cared so much about him. He goes off, and because he didn't like something or whatever happened. So yeah, that was basically the thanks that she received for, letting someone in her home. And this is the very thing that I talk about, especially with people trying to say black women are on welfare, black women get housing. We can't sit up here and pretend like black males are not benefiting off of those benefits those women are maintaining or getting. Just because the male's name is not on that dotted line does not mean he is not benefiting, and does not mean he is not in that home staying. There's a lot of men whose name are not on the dotted line, but they are living in those homes. They are paroled out and they are staying with one of their female family members or a girlfriend or something like that. That was crazy to see, especially today on the Sabbath of all days. But another situation that happened to me earlier, like in the week, I think it was a week or two ago, I had to take a cab because I was going somewhere. So the person pulls up, I get into this cab, and this person is just making small talk, and he was talking about his daughter, and his daughter had gotten married, and he was from Africa. I could tell, but he let it be known he was from Africa. So he started asking me questions like, how old am I, and am I married? And I'm like, what the hell are you asking me these personal questions for? So I told him what I wanted to tell him, and then didn't give any more information. But he went on into this rant about be careful about who you marry and their personality, because once you're married, it's hard. So okay, that's something that I know. I do have a mother who taught me all about that. And even though my father was not in the home, and it's a shame to have to say it, but he showed me exactly what type of man not to be with. So that's what I took from that. And no, I don't have any daddy issues or problems. Me and my father, we were fine. We were cool. Everything was hashed out. I didn't take anything personal. And at the end, when he did pass away, everything was fine. But it is what it is. And those are choices that me, as the child, I couldn't make. My mother, she wanted to be married, but that's a whole story that I'm not going to go into. But it is what it is. And this man, he was saying, be careful. And he went into how he was married and he has a home in Africa, but he's here driving a cab. So he said he had 2 wives. So I'm like, really? Wouldn't be me. That was the first thing out my mouth. Wouldn't be me. I can't be a sister wife. I can't do it. I don't share. Not good at that. Now, this man said that it went to a dark place, and basically I really didn't say anything. I was just listening until we got to the destination, and then I paid the money and then got out of there, because normally I would have something as far as a weapon on me, but I didn't, and I need to quit playing around and go ahead and order me that mace. Some mace. I need some mace. Because I was in a vulnerable situation, I felt, in that cab. This man was talking about how he did have his wife in Africa. He did have his wife here. But as the story goes on, he said that he has 7 children. And these 7 children are by different women. Keep that in mind. Now, he said that his wife in Africa, she did not tell him, and this is the only thing he was angry with. She did not tell him her 2 children that she had were by 2 different men. So she only had 2 children. Keep in mind, he has 7, and he has multiple baby mamas. I don't care if they were married or not. These are multiple baby mamas with all these 7 children. But he's mad at her because she didn't say that the children were by different fathers, and he didn't know that, as if that should have made a difference. He knew those children were not his, but it makes a difference because one child is by one father, one child is by the other. But she went ahead and accepted him with multiple women. So she's probably thinking in her head, big deal, what does it matter? So he said that the woman he's with, he actually admitted, because usually I can push stories along where the person will tell on themselves. I've done it to family members, so people feel for some reason comfortable talking to me, and I really don't like that. I need to make myself unapproachable, because some of the stuff I hear is ridiculous. But he did say that the woman that he has here in the United States living in an apartment with him, if he says come, she'll come. If he says stop, she will stop. So he has himself a good trained canine for himself, is what he has. I don't know her race. I don't know who she was. Or anything. I didn't ask any questions, but yeah, he was basically saying all he had to say was jump and she'll say how high. Now, he said his wife in Africa, he said that she doesn't listen, and even though he has talked to her, she won't listen to reason. She won't do what he says. She left the home. She left his home there. And because I know the full story, I don't blame her. She didn't leave. She ran for her life, because he proceeded to say that he would smack her, that he beat her. Now, keep in mind, I'm in the cat. He's telling me this shit. He smacked her, he beat her, and basically he said that he paid a dowry for her and that she was his property. That's what he said. So I'm sitting up here like thinking like the cab is going to stop any minute. A bunch of cameras are going to come and say that good job, you kept your cool, you win $1 million. That's what I thought. But no, this was for real. And usually stuff like this happens because I have some questions, and I, really pray and ask the Most High, for answers. Like, am I on the right path? Am I talking about the right thing? Am I feeling the right thing? Am I feeling wrong? Am I being biased? Am I being too harsh? Even when it comes to my thinking and my words on my own people, and especially Black men. But these things, because those are the things currently that I've been having on my mind. Like I said, I know with women do things. Women are not innocent. Women mostly hurt other women. And I can go into a whole thing with that, but this is not the time. I'll do that later. But I've been like, am I being one-sided because I am a black female? And these are the questions that I've been wondering about. So I feel like since I keep coming into these questions, that they're being answered with real life scenarios. And it just so happens that I'm in the center of this. Like, I'm noticing this. I'm getting my answer from these things, because what random person will tell you that they have 2 wives, they beat their wife, they hit their wife, and all of that? And this was a man from Africa, and his wife was African, and he was saying that about her while being over here in America, shacked up with another woman who was not his wife. But he's mad at her because she didn't tell him about the 2 children being from 2 different men when he has several different babies with several different women. And that plays into the hypocrisy that I really talk about. Is, I feel like in this system, and this is all across the world, I really don't feel like people are trying to tear down the system. I feel like black people are comfortable in the system, men and women, but mostly I think all of the venom is going towards white males. And the reason why it's going towards white males is because it's just like the things that happen on social media here with black men and white men. I believe that black men want to not tear down the system, but actually bring down the white male so he can take his place and continue to reign the system as it is, as he sees fit, instead of tearing down the system. Now, I didn't say all men. I said quite a few, though. But yeah, these are 2 things that I happen to experience, and I think these are really answers to my questions and things that I've been thinking about. It's not a over exaggeration of me seeing the treatment of black women and speaking on the treatment of black women. So I'm going to continue that. I'm going to dive deeper into that because I have talked about white supremacy. I acknowledge what white supremacy has done, and there's only so much talking that you can do on white supremacy before you then have to clean up your backyard. If we're asking them to leave us alone and don't talk about us and to clean up their backyard, we must do the same. And like I said, the devil, because that's what people like to call white males, the devil can't kick his way through the door. You actually have to open that door and let him in. And he was let in because of the hatred that we have towards us. Black people have hatred towards other black people. Not saying all, but it's quite a damn lot. And that is showing from my 2 experience that I've seen of black men saying they beat black women, black men, threatening to beat a black woman, Monique's situation, and quite a few situations that I've seen personally, even in my family, that I will share. And it has to do with black females, and it has to do with the hardness of black females after, having to deal with white supremacy and having to deal with misogyny, being degraded by other people and being degraded by her own men. And I can speak to that because I am a female. And even within my own family, there has been horrible, horrible abuse. And I'm talking sexual, physical, to incest, to all that. So that's the direction that I will be going. But I'll go ahead and leave it here. Let me know what you think. Share any stories that you have. If you want to share something, if you want me to talk about something, go ahead and let me know. And I will see you in the next one.